So I think that legal has never been needed more in solar in the entire history of solar. Because there's so many people involved, because there is so many shady people involved in fraudulent actions, that it's got to go one way or the other.
The man in the room.
Get him.
Hey guys.
Wait. What is that? Jon Dodart, lawyers for solar in the house?
There we go. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, man. Is that
think
Jon
you,
Dodart? Lawyers for solar in the house?
Big guy?
What's going on, man?
Just getting some work done, suing some people, getting out of lawsuits. You know how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody knows, on this Solar Pulse podcast special episode, we wanted to get the lawyer of the solar industry on here. And this is a good friend of mine who's also the lawyer for SolarCon. Good friend with Jake Hest, who that's how I met Jon myself. But Jon, appreciate you getting on here. Talk a little bit about the law in solar and what's going on, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. The trends out there right now are bananas. Everybody's trying to be compliant with regulatory filings. They're trying to avoid any kind of lawsuits from attorney generals. They're trying to avoid lawsuits from each other. It can be a cannibalizing industry, but so far so good. My clients are doing well, and when people act honestly and ethically, it balances out.
Hell yeah. You know Josh King, right? You met him at the gala.
Of course I know Josh. The man, the myth, the legend. What's going on, Josh?
What's going on, Jon? How we doing?
I swear, every time I see you, you look younger. I don't know what you're doing, but...
I started using skincare about a year ago, and everyone tells me the same thing. When you're young, you want to look older, but then as soon as you start getting older, you're like, shit, I gotta... I swear, people tell me I look younger, and I'm like, I don't know if I like this.
It's so weird, Josh. I get that compliment too all the time that I'm looking younger. I mean, it probably helps that I'm using your driver's license and your social media profile, but
yes.
Everybody says I look very young and rich. So
young and rich, okay, but you left that part out, man. You gotta throw that one in there.
Now you should have
I
seen
didn't ask which one's great. More important.
You should have seen Josh's videos from last year. He looked literally like Jesus Christ. Brenda was saying that today.
Yeah. The long hair will do that for sure. But I couldn't walk through any street in Mexico without people yelling at me, Jesus, Jesus. Got a bit annoying. I'm not joking. And Mexicans they really love, even in like a pub, just drinking, those people stop to me and say, oh, Jesus, and just walk off. I'm like, come on.
I mean, they should at least buy you around if that's the case.
Absolutely, right? I'll get at least a cup of water. I'll get some wine going,
That's what I'm saying. You take 10% of all cervezas. It says that right on the door when you come in. It's binding. That's an agreement.
Hopefully not the last 10%.
Well, Jon, man, you weren't always the lawyer for solar. You were, in law. No. Can you just let the audience know a little bit about your background real quick and how you actually went from law to solar law?
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to do federal litigation. I did white collar crime prosecution. Sometimes it makes me very apt and, for some issues that come up in solar sometimes. But so I did federal prosecution. I was successful at it. We had some big cases, made national news. I was on, our cases were on CBS. I loved it at the time until I started getting threats I was going to be thrown into the back of a trunk. There's only so many of those that you can receive before you decide to switch. Wow. So I switched it up. I went civil. I did like employment litigation, consumer litigation, helped the workforce, then also, helped some friends that had businesses and things like that. And funny enough, I've known Jake Hess for years, and he had a company that needed some help. Something, came up, and he said, hey, is this something that you can help us out with? He's talked about it publicly, so I can share a little bit, but he had an issue in California with EDD with one of his solar companies as far as like a misclassification of employees, something very common that we see in the industry. And he said, hey, could you help me? And I said, sure. I'm always down for, some extra beer money or something on the side. And I didn't realize he was asking for the homie hookup at the time. So he's like, well, look, help me with this. We'll see where things go. So I did. So, we got out of that successfully, and things continued to just kind of escalate from there. He introduced me to some people, and they said, well, can you help me? And I said, sure. And it just progressively got bigger and bigger. Till when we had the first SolarCon. So I'm SolarCon's lawyer. And Jake said, "Hey, would you mind speaking at our first SolarCon?" And I thought, "Yeah, that sounds fun." So I spoke at it, and I was introduced by Jake as the lawyer for solar. He said, "Everybody's Jon Dodart. This is the lawyer for solar." And I thought, "Damn, that's catchy." And so I trademarked it, by the way, in case anyone's thinking of snagging it. Yeah, I own the trademark. Thank you, Jake, in advance.
Stay away.
Exactly, it's mine now. So I'm sure he wants, I don't know, some kind of royalties on that. But yeah, so long story short, I spoke at SolarCon and I thought, this is really fun. Like I love the people of solar. I sincerely believe in what we do. I think we offer a public good. In the way that we conduct business and what we offer to the business world as a whole. And just in general, I think that what we do is really something incredible in this industry. So I thought, all right, maybe I'll take a few more clients, and it kept growing and growing. And then, at the start of 2024, and well, leading up to 24 and 23, we kind of started to formalize things a little bit more to say, why don't we just set up a brand just for solar, focus on the needs of solar, the personalities of solar, the specific nuances of solar business. And that's kind of where Solar Legal was grown from. We did a little test pilot in 23 to see if we could make it successful. One of my core mantras is that good legal advice should never, it should never price anyone out that needs it. I did not want to start a business where, these young guys in solar that want to start a company, they're young, they're hungry, they're ambitious, but they just don't quite, have the funds to hire an attorney out there. We wanted to make sure that we could help them and provide good legal services. But at the end of the day, I got to keep my lights on. And so I thought, well, can we do this in a way that makes it where it's price affordable for clients and, people that need good legal representation, but also can I do it to where, the time sacrifice makes sense? And 23 was kind of our test pilot. We confirmed that it would work. And in 24, we formally launched Solar Legal, known as the Lawyers for Solar. And it's just exploded in January 1st of 2024. We formally launched it. We're now in March, and it's like we cannot slow it down. We've added attorneys, we've added staff. We just are growing so fast, which is fantastic. And seeing the public trust of really well-known people in our industry has been fantastic, and seeing how we can help any size business, that the huge, well-established businesses to the new guys that are literally sitting in their mom's house saying, "Hey, I got this idea." And we've been able to take those clients and help them. And it's just a load of fun, to be honest. It's a lot of fun what we're doing. So it's awesome.
It's a great niche. I think I've told you this before, like having that niche, because if someone that's in sort of a niche industry, they need legal assistance and they go somewhere else and they ask a lawyer and he seems professional and you say, "Oh, do you do solar stuff?" And they'll say something, "Oh yeah, I've done it in the past. I can help you out." That's not really, that doesn't give me a lot of it. But if you're honing in on that niche, on an industry that's about to explode and obviously will need a lot of legal assistance, and the ins and outs of every single thing, that for me, if I was looking on, okay, I need legal help here, I'd much prefer the doctor who specializes in my exact issue as opposed to the general practitioner who says they've dealt with it once or twice before. So.
Well, and solar's so unique. So there, maybe in some states they have like a specialization, but as far as solar itself, it's such a unique and niche industry. There's not many attorneys that can say, like this is our focus. Now, obviously, legally speaking, we cannot say that we are specialists or experts, but I can say that we've got a lot of experience in solar. We have been in the space for a long time, and what that equates to, though, for the client, this is what I think is really important, is let's say you got an issue and you go out and you hire that attorney who has never done anything with solar, doesn't understand solar, but they're a lawyer. They're going to probably bill you about 10 hours just to get up to speed. It's funny. I always make this joke. There was an attorney I was talking to, and we were talking about adders, and he goes, "Oh, additors," and I was like, "Additors, like isn't that what you like put in your car? I think, right?" And we're talking. I was like, "No, it's adders. It's it's a kind of a legal term or a business term in solar." And there's so many little things, like lawyers don't understand net metering. They don't understand all those things. But more importantly, Josh, is I think that, and you too, Joe, that you guys can attest to, is the personalities in solar are really what makes solar unique. I've never found any industry where the same types of personalities and profiles exist. Like if you were talking in the normal business world, which I see this often, where you said, hey, I'm going to start a, $20 million company or a $10 million company, or let's even say a $500,000 company. Okay. And I'm going to do it with no contracts, based on a handshake where everybody's just smiling and they're like, yeah, well, we'll go make some money. We'll see what happens. You would never see it. You just don't see it in other industries. But in solar, I have seen some of the biggest clients that you can imagine. And I can't tell you who, but big clients that have zero agreements, that they literally have structured their entire companies based on a handshake deal. And as I'm sure you guys know in solar, like, a handshake's good if the other guy honors it, but when they don't, there you are. In this situation, literally, the guy's business partner ran off with half of the company, spent the assets, then came back and sued my client and said, "Well, you're not paying my bills, so you've breached your fiduciary duty." It's unreal. And then I said, "Well, this is simple. Just show me your operating agreement. We're done." And he goes, "Well, what's an operating agreement?" So, that's one thing at Solar Legal that I love is, you guys are the creatives, you are the sprinters, you're the innovators. And so we are like the guy in the golf cart driving behind you, being like, laying the track as fast as we can to make sure that foundation's in place so that we just support what you're doing and ensure that you guys continue to grow. But from a position where somebody's not going to run off with half your company and send you the bill when they're done having a good time in Vegas.
Well,
it's very common, and I don't have a ton of experience in other industries. I'm solar for life, pretty much. But usually how that starts is let's just try this out, and then because the potential behind solar, it just scales up, and they never go back and solidify it. I'm very detail oriented. As soon as something gets to a level where it's serious, I'm like, I want every single description of every, like, what are we doing here, so that you can always fall back to no ambiguity, whatever. But yeah, I was 100% in that boat a long time ago. Just handshake agreements all around, and nothing was in writing. And it's not even, like legally good to fall back on, but it's also just for people to know what the hell everyone is doing. Like, what is this? And getting it on paper and making it official, I think, is very important.
Well, it's like that old Mike Tyson saying, right? That everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. Well, there's nothing more true than that in solar, right? Like everybody's got this plan of like, we're going to go out, we're going to, sell all these, systems. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're going to make all this money. And they usually do. And then they get that first punch in the mouth. Like the first time you get served with a lawsuit, you get a serious consumer complaint. These people they flounder. And what happens mentally, if you look at the psychology of a lawsuit, is it prevents like anything else from taking place in your brain. You no longer sleep, you no longer eat, you definitely can't do business, you definitely are not taking care of your responsibilities, you're just done. And so it stops all of that momentum, where a very simple fix could have kept you in that frame of mind of, I'm growing, I'm building, I'm doing these things. And legal is not the type of thing that a business should be worried about. I mean, hiring an attorney is a tax write-off. You obviously always talk to your tax advisors, everything else, but I mean, typically speaking, it's a tax write-off. It's going to benefit your company substantially, not just in the moment, but it's going to benefit it throughout the lifetime of it. It also benefits it in the event that it just doesn't pan out. What if your company doesn't pan out? Well, what do you do now with that LLC and with the assets? And what if you owe money? What if one of the deals you sold, explodes a house or something later? How are you going to look into those things to protect yourself? And that's really where we come in to make sure that we don't impede the business, we don't slow down your business. We just follow behind in our golf cart, drinking, trying to flag down the cart girl for some drinks, and driving behind you as fast as we can. So,
that's when you're like talking about contracts and making sure deals are legit. But a lot of people and companies may not even think about a lawyer until they need it, until the situation happens,
Yep.
right? So what is the process if there's no need for it at this point? Should they still have somebody signed on and ready to go? Or is it something, wait to that bridge before you cross it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So this last weekend I was speaking at an event, and it was really fun. So I asked a room of, I think there was about 300 plus business owners there, maybe more. But I was asking them, I said, who in this room, if you got served a lawsuit today, who in this room could email an attorney and get a response? And, a large majority of them raised their hands. And I said, great. Now, who in this room could pick up their phone and call an attorney and get a response? And about like half the room put their hands down. And I said, who in this room can text their attorney right now? And it was great because I had a client in the front row that just so happened to be there. And he goes, well, I can't because you're my attorney. And the reality is that, you don't know when a problem will arise. But they always arise. You also don't know what your problems are until somebody who is experienced in that area can say, oh, this is a major red flag. Like we need to create some employment manuals, or we need to revise your contract, whatever it might be. And so I always tell people that the sooner that you can consult with a lawyer, even if it's just an initial consultation, and at the end, the lawyer says, hey, you're not quite ready, but you will be probably in 3 to 6 months, and call me then. Now you know exactly who you're going to go to for your problem. You know exactly who you're going to go to, even just with general questions, and they're ready to go. But a good lawyer, in my opinion, a good lawyer typically doesn't charge for an initial consultation. So what do you risk by taking 30 minutes of your time to call somebody who understands it? Second thing is that a good lawyer will have an understanding of the things that you need based upon what you tell them. So Joe, for example, you tell me you're excited, you're going to start this company. It's going to be, Josh's skincare company. By the way, I want some shares in this. I know I'm investing. So you guys have this great idea and great product, and you know exactly how you're going to market and sell it. But how are you going to structure your relationship between you and Josh? Because trust me, that pretty face, he's going to get one whiff of all the millions you're making off that skincare routine, and he's done. And same thing for Josh. All right, Josh. So Joe now is, he's using your product and he's making all this money, and you say, wait a second, like, I started this thing. I kind of created it, and I've contributed my beautiful. You're contributing the moneymaker, Josh, right? You will not take this from Joe. How dare you? So the earlier on that you can do it, the better. If you were building a house, would you stop halfway through building the house and go, maybe we should pour some cement? Maybe now's a good time. No, you would start with cement and you'd build up. Otherwise, you're going to have half a house with an amazing, entertainment room that's built on dirt. It just is waiting for the first drop of rain and you're done. And I tell everyone in solar, like, call me, call our team. If we can't help you, we will tell you, sorry, it's just not right. And I do that all the time. But I can usually steer you in the right direction, give you some general advice. And when you're ready, call us and we're happy to help.
You quipped earlier, hey, I need to keep my lights on. Just to make sure I do have a solution for that too, for your electricity bills, if you didn't know. But that's that's something people worry about, is that lawyers make a lot of money, and now I'm gonna pay for a lawyer, and they're gonna add extra hours. It's gonna be like $300 an hour, and whatever the costs are. Like, how can they afford it if they don't know if they need it yet?
Yeah. So great question. So that was the number one concern that I had when I was looking into creating a law firm that was focused on solar. So typically speaking, as a lawyer, there's 3 general models as far as how a law firm is going to bill you as a client. So the first is what's called flat rate, meaning that they're going to take a look, they're going to ballpark what they think it's going to cost them and cost you as far as costs and things like that. And they're going to say, hey, I can take this issue, whatever it might be, for X dollars, and that's it. The pros of flat rate is exactly what you're paying, but the cons are, who knows who's going to lose there? Someone will lose, either the guy who hired the attorney and he overpaid, or the attorney who didn't bill it right, and now they're just working for free. And so when an attorney works for free, how motivated do you think he is to really do the best job possible? They're just not.
Yeah.
And then contingency, that's common. We see everybody on the roads, like, call me now, don't pay me. Well, you pay me when we win for you, things like that. That can be good and bad depending on the scenario. You don't pay anything usually up front to the attorney, and the attorney fronts all of the costs. But the downside is they typically take anywhere from 30 to 40% of whatever they get you. So if it's a contract dispute and things like that, they're going to take a huge chunk. Clients are always happy with a contingency type attorney until we take 40% of your money. Yep. And then they're not so happy. It doesn't matter how great the result is. They're never happy. So that's the downside and with contingency. And then finally, the one that we all know is the billable hours. So attorneys don't work in normal hours. Why would an attorney work in a normal hourly arrangement? We work in usually 6 to 15-minute increments. So most firms now operate in 15-minute increments. What that means is, Joe, you send me a single text. It's a 1-sentence text, right? Just, hey, just checking on you, making sure things are going right. Now in my billing, I can bill you for 15 minutes technically for that. Or if it's a 6-minute increment, 6 minutes for one text, right? So let's say that the average attorney's fees right now, they range, but they're typically anywhere from like $400 to $600 an hour, depending. And that's pre-litigation. So you can do the math on how quickly 15 minutes equals up in, a $600 an hour type scenario. And so clients then are like, well, that doesn't make sense. And attorneys are incentivized usually to like keep the tap on. And so they'll keep you on the phone, like, oh, I got a question. Hold on. Let me just think what it is. Let me check my notes. And next thing you know, you've had a 2-hour-long conversation. You're in $1,200 and you're like, what just happened? Like for $1,200, exactly. I want to be wined and dined and taken out. Right. I'm just saying. Yeah. So that's an issue. When we looked at our firm, we tried to look at models that make sense. And there are some kind of newer models for law firms, but they're very rare because financially it's not as lucrative for a law firm. So something that we wanted to come up with was a model that would make it so it was cost affordable no matter what size business they are, from the new guy all the way up to your huge companies. And so we came up with something, we call it the legal assurance plan. So it's effectively like a monthly subscription plan. Typically speaking, they're about a year long. And even though it's not unlimited services, we still have to always say, hey, at the end of the day, I have to sleep and eat too. So I can't give you, all 24 hours of my day. But it's a lot of hours per client. And we focus instead of on, the billable hour or whatever else, we focus on client goals. So the first thing we do when we get a new client is we call them and we say, hey, tell me what all your goals are. Tell me where your weaknesses are. And I send out a huge letter saying, send me all this stuff. Let me look. And from there, we take it over. So that's anything from like dispute resolution, sometimes like in sending collection type letters or trying to help customers with that. You name it, we do it. In addition to revising contracts and things, everything that they need for an organizational standpoint. And the most important thing I think of the legal assurance plan that we offer is that clients can call or text. Like they got my personal cell phone, they have my assistant's cell phone, they have our other attorney's cell phones. I take calls on vacation. I take calls, at 2 a.m. or text, where clients are respectful. We offer the same thing back. And when it's urgent, you need that person to be like, hey, it will be okay. Let's take a look at what this is in the morning and we'll go over it. Or, hey, I just have this simple question. I was laying in bed. Jake's a great example of this. Jake calls me all the time, all hours of the night. And he's like, I got this idea. I think it's brilliant. And it usually is very brilliant, just like peppered with lots of like, little things of like, oh, please, Josh, since Josh is now our Jesus, please, Josh, don't let me get sued.
You are so necessary in his life, bro. I'll tell you that right now.
It's I'm single, so I'm just saying, Jake's gonna propose just for the free legal advice, but no, so that's the legal assurance plan. As far as for pricing, we do have a promotional rate this year. I always tell clients, call me. So some clients are like, hey, look, I'm brand new. Like, even though your promotional rate is incredible, for me, like, I'm thinking just a little less. I, to date, have never turned away a client that is like eager to set a good, positive foundation for their business. We will make it work with you, because I personally feel that if companies in solar continue to build a strong ethical and legal platform, the entire industry rises, like my business included, but everyone's business. Because the opposite to that is that if companies continue to act the way that they have acted, not all companies, but a lot, we are going to flag every attorney general in the entire country, because they're going to make a name for themselves on taking down these big solar companies that had one rogue sales guy get out there and sell. I had a case I talked about this weekend. Like, it was something like 46 panels to a blind guy, or like the sweet little 84-year-old guy that got like a 20 some odd year lease on his panels, and I'm like, it was like 26 years. He's going to be dead before that. It was something crazy. So that's what makes the industry look bad. And like probably, 80% of the industry is not like that. But you do have 20% of bad actors, and everyone needs good legal to make sure that they're doing it right from the start.
What's going on, guys? Just a quick break before we get back into the pod to tell you a bit about what we got going on for you, some resources for you. So first things first, Virtual Solar Club, the home of all things remote solar sales, the largest community of remote solar sales professionals in the universe. We got training for you. We got support. We got networking, community, lead sources, software, installation, infrastructure. We're a big group of people that sell solar remotely around the world. If you want to transition or to start selling solar remotely, get software, get all the resources you need to do so, you can use code SOLARPULSE on registration to get a bunch of discounts for you. We're here for you. We're ready to support you. Let's sell some solar remotely. What do you say? Joe, you got anything for us?
Oh yeah, SolarCon is right around the corner, and this is going to be our third year, and we're looking at the most epic event ever, and it's going to be at the same place, same time, April 18th, 19th, and 20th in Salt Lake City at the Soul Palace Convention Center, and we're going to have Gary V headlining. We got Andy Elliott, Jeremy Miner, David Meltzer, and over 150 speakers and trainers training all aspects of the solar industry. And then the highlight of the event every year is our expo floor, where we're going to have the piano player to the presidents, lounges, activities, bars, and the best conversations you've ever had at a conference is with the feedback we get from everybody. So if you guys haven't signed up yet, get your tickets now. We have an extra discount for you guys, an extra 10% on top of the website has. Just go to attendsolarcon.com/virtual solar. Again, that's attendsolarcon.com/virtual solar, and you will get the biggest discount anybody has to offer. So if you guys don't know, now you know. Let's get back to the podcast.
I was just talking about this to my community earlier today about like bad press. And someone brought up about, there's this massive thing, I don't know, recently in the news, and, solar company scamming, blah, blah, blah. And then you dive in and it looks horrible. The headline is horrible. And you look into it and it was one bad sales rep that did one stupid thing. And now the whole company's, put out for it. And in Australia, we saw that a lot. We went through the cowboy phase as the U.S. is I feel sort of coming out of a bit now. But the Australia went through that as well. And bad press it was always just bad actors or people that didn't have proper SOPs set up, or the training wasn't there, or they were saying something or using wording in a way that, for example, back in the day, Mr. Customer, you're never going to get a power bill again. Like just random stupid shit like that. It's just going to catch you out. And it's easy to train people out of that, but there's just things you're not cognizant of. So having someone to come in and say, oh, actually, no, you can say something like that, but just don't say this. This is wrong, but let's go this route. And looking at it, you could almost John, have you ever actually, this is great. You should do a sales script analyzer product.
Oh,
like people send their sales scripts and you just say, don't use that word and use something like this. Have you ever done that before?
So I can't announce it yet, but I am in talks with the company.
You're announcing it right now.
I'm in talks with the company about it. Yeah, because the reality is that I have revised so many different sales scripts for companies that hire me. In fact, I had a conversation with Michael O'Donnell just this weekend. So the thing that I love about his sales pitches, so like I look at words differently than any kind of salesman might and things like that. You guys look at it as far as its persuasion and things like that. I look at anything that gets disclosed to the public of, well, is this going to get my client sued? Is this something that can be verified and backed up? So if you look at his sales pitches, they are all verifiable. Like he uses hard data, he uses hard facts. So for example, like one common pitch that we were talking about is the pitch in regards to cost of electricity, right? So the common paragraph that we see in things is like, your electricity is going to go up at least 5% or 5 times the amount in the next, X years or in the next whatever, right? So that's not verifiable. That arguably is consumer fraud. Now, contrast that usually with how Mr. O'Donnell usually does it, right? So he says, well, I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be 5 years from now, but I can tell you over the last 5, 10, 15 years, it's, or last 15 years, it's typically doubled or tripled or whatever it might be, right? That is verifiable data, and that is not consumer fraud. And there is a huge difference in the law. The same thing's true with representation. Are you going out there saying that you're with the utility company? Probably, if you look at your script. I'm just here to do an audit of your meters. Well, that's not true, right? Consumer fraud. When people say, oh, you're definitely going to get this money back from the government, right? And they've cleared that up a little bit. But how do you know? That person might not qualify for the tax credit, and now you have put yourself on the hook for it. And trust me, these consumers are smart now. Like back in the day, they were not as smart. They did not know their rights, but consumers now are not only knowing their rights, but also zealously advocating it through the help of prosecutors, the attorney generals in states and things like that. And, you get one of these rogue guys that gets out there and says something wrong. They can take you down for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, it can be substantial. So that's where we kind of come in, is we give a little bit of clearance. I still understand you guys have a job to do. You need to be persuasive in your sales techniques. But, I don't think anyone would say Michael O'Donnell is not persuasive in his sales, right? and I watched his presentations, I watched his pitch, and I watched it as a lawyer, and I complimented him. This was Saturday. I said, I got to tell you, your presentation's fantastic. Like, this is what people need to understand. And he laughed. He said the exact same thing I did, that like 90% of these scripts that people are using is going to land the company in trouble, land the rep in trouble, draw the attention of the attorney generals, and there they'll be. But hey, look, that's one way to eliminate competition, is everybody's in the same jailhouse together, I guess. So
battery backup, that people over promising that, oh yeah, you get all this backup or free solar. Can we please stop the free solar ads? Is there any way to stop it?
Well, it's even like, what are other vendors promising that they bind you to, and then, or bind their company to, and then they bankrupt? Well, who do you think is going to be liable for whatever your vendor promised? And I have that right now that we're like resolving. So this isn't just made up stuff. This happens all the time. And there's, when that happens, if it's too late, people should still call me. They're like, we can resolve things. We can work with homeowners to talk to them about the situation. And, my number one advice, is everybody ready? I'm going to give you guys the number one.
All right, get a pen and paper, everybody.
Are you ready? Okay, this is it. Everyone that's watching this is going to get a bill in the mail. So please just, make sure you message Joe
it's only for 15 minutes now. Only 15 minutes, John. Okay.
Hey, absolutely. We will occasionally offer my hourly, but we do try to disincentivize it somewhat. And, my hourly is, you got to send Joe photos of all your hot cousins, since I'm single. It's you got to set Josh and I up in Mexico for unlimited
that has to be against the law, John. I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm just kidding. But here's my like free legal advice. When you are honest and ethical and sincere, more often than not, even when you have messed up big, people will give you grace. That is the absolute truth. Your adversaries will give you grace. Your businesses where you talk to them. The consumer definitely does. These homeowners, if you call them and you say, look, I'm just going to be honest. This is what happened. Well, with the advice of counsel on this, be very careful with that. But hey, I'm just telling you, this is what happened. Here's what we would propose to make it right. Can you work with us on this? I am yet to see a homeowner where they just say, hey, go to hell. We're done with you, because people just want to be treated respectfully. And when you hit that baseline and you start there of like, I am sorry, I'm owning this mistake. This really wasn't my mistake, but I want to own it and fix it. I mean, 9 times out of 10, they're going to work with you in a way that's even better than if you did anything else. So yeah, that informal acting with honesty, ethics, and just being sincere about what you're doing is going to save you probably 90% of your legal headaches.
And also preparing on the front end, so that script analysis, whatever that may or may not exist or coming up. I think that's so cool. Yeah. Because you specifically said, we still need to sell, we still need to do that. And I love the idea of being able to take a look at, say, a certain sales rep frame something in a certain way. They're not particularly trying to hide something. It's just how they've been taught. And there's a good sales concept behind the words, but oftentimes I'll hear a sales rep we'll do a call review and they'll say, oh, I'm from the utility. I'll pause the call review and say, okay, I see what you're trying to do here. You're trying to build, but let's just do it this way. And it doesn't hurt the results. There's always a different route to go down that's more transparent. And often consumers are enjoying transparency these days. They like people to say straight up to them, hey, yeah, you saw the other sales guy said it was free solar. He's an idiot, man. Of course, nothing's free. This is how this actually works. Consumers are responding to this type of stuff. And I can't imagine the percentage of sales guys right now in their script that just have never thought about that. They just what they were taught before. I ran an EPC, so I had to have a bit of frame of mind about the words that we use. But what the amount of guys that just jumped into this industry, started making hundreds of thousands of dollars and never even looked at their script is probably absurd. And there's probably just ways we can reframe that messaging, not hit the results, maybe even increase the results, but then cover them on the front end. If a customer comes back and says, he said this, here's a recording of it, here it is in writing. So
I can tell you. So I have reviewed I've reviewed a lot of documents from a lot of companies, both my clients and also those that we've initiated actions against. And I would say probably 80% of the industry, if not more, are using the exact same contracts, the exact same scripts. They are following the exact same format because whoever originally back in the day decided to set things up goes, yeah, guys, here's my contracts. And somebody saved it and circulated it. And it goes on and on and on. I mean, it's great when I take over, one of our clients' files and I get in there and I'm like, great, I've seen this contract, 1,000 times. And now I know exactly where I have to edit. funny enough, the only thing that's been new and very different is now I'm starting to see my contracts come up, and there's different things that I put in a contract to know it's mine. So I'll see my contract come up, and I'm like, oh, this is one of mine, but they've tweaked it just minimally. And so I'm like, well, but you don't know where my fail safes are in my contract, right? My little ejector button. So so we do that. But great, I'm happy that at least people are starting to use something different. And the reality, Josh, is this, right? All of these companies think that they have to use all of these, I would say, fraudulent techniques to sell a product, but the product is good enough. The product is great. You don't have to do that. You might have to do that if you're trying to sell your jalopy with like 8,000 miles and or 80,000, whatever. You're trying to sell it for, $9 million. And you're like, yeah, trust me, it's the best broken down used car you'll ever find. No, this is solar. This is a verifiable product that is going to either save them money, be a better long-term product. It's going to help the environment. I mean, the list of benefits goes on and on and on and on. Just sell the product. The product is good enough. Use verifiable facts. It's good enough. And that's one thing that like Michael and I talked about this weekend, and we just laughed. And I said the exact same thing. The product is good enough. And he said, you'd think people would know that by now, wouldn't you? And I laughed, and I just said, yeah. But that's the difference, I think, that differentiates, new guys or maybe less experienced guys from those that are really like very well seasoned sales professionals, is that they understand the difference. They know how to use verifiable facts to sell good products. And, if you want to use those tactics, go, I don't know, sell some smarmy product out there, right? There's oil salesmen or snake oil salesmen, all over the place. But at the end of the day, this is a great product. And hypothetically, they're a great company that wants to offer it to them. So using different sales techniques that just sticks to the facts and helps them individually will not only build long-term customer trust, but it's going to save you from not just one lawsuit, but countless lawsuits. So yeah, that's always my thing. It's like, why make stuff up? It's good enough. You don't see people making up facts about Ferraris and Lamborghinis. Like if I'm trying to, get you on my Learjet or my yacht, I'm not like, well, trust me, guys, this boat does really great in the Caribbean. Like I actually am the owner of Lamborghini, and you're just gonna love. I'm like, no, it's a Lamborghini. You're gonna get in that thing and be like, damn, this is a Lamborghini. This is nice. So why do people do it with solar? It's no different. I think it's that salesman mentality. They think they have to do this to make the sale. And in reality, they just have to understand the consumer. What's their pressure point? What are they worried about? What are their real concerns? And that's sales techniques and training that they can, get through you guys, your podcast, through the forums, through SolarCon coming up. Please come to SolarCon.
Let's go.
Because it's great education and training.
Yeah.
Even I learn at all of these events. Every time I go, I'm taking notes. People think like I'm a crazy person. I'm taking notes every time. I'm like, I can definitely use that. So the resources are out there if they just utilize them right.
Doesn't like every company have that, at least one rogue guy who just doesn't listen and they do their own thing and they're just trying to make money now, not worried about the homeowner, not worried about solar, not worried about the environment. They're just cashing in. Like especially the bigger the company gets, you're going to get people to do bad things. How do they protect themselves from those people? It's not their fault. They have this, it's the person's fault. So are they protected? Is there that line like, hey, yeah, that's not me?
So great question. So let me give you an analogy. So I flew into John Wayne once, the airport in Santa Ana in California, and I flew into a weird terminal. I flew this like weird semi-private airline thing, and so I flew into this like semi-private terminal with all these other jets. Well, okay, these guys got their chauffeurs to pick them up, and I had to rent a car. So I went to this small little rental desk, and the only thing they had was this beautiful brand new Mercedes. Okay. And they, of course, they ask like, hey, do you want the insurance? And I normally like turn down the insurance because I assume my credit card has insurance. I have insurance. Everything's fine, right? Turn it down. I take the car, and the person goes, well, you definitely you're gonna want the insurance. And I said, no, I don't need it. So I drive the car, return it. Sure enough, after I returned it, they did an inspection, and somebody had just clipped all of the undercarriage. Right now, mentally, I had prepared to say I have insurance. I have insurance on my credit card, it's provided through as one of the products. I'm covered, right? Well, when you get into that scenario, you quickly realize that a lot of the fine print has a lot of exclusions as well. And like, thankfully, the person was nice to me and worked it out with me and we were fine. But it's no different than with big companies, right? So everybody kind of has an idea of what they're going to do when one of these employees goes rogue, right? They make promises that they can't keep. They steal guys from you. They breach your confidential information, whatever it might be. And so everybody has a tentative plan, but normally speaking, that plan fails. But when you bring in like an attorney, somebody who like understands some of these concepts, kind of like the rental desk lady, when they understand what the terms of the contract are and where, some of these abilities to give, little credits or little leeway or to protect the person, that's when it shifts. So with these companies, for example, I had to terminate an employee for one of my clients. So when we did it, there's a way that you can do it ethically that protects the company and preserves a lot of the information that they have with them and protects the company so they don't poach your guys when they leave or poach your business, whatever it might be. There's just different ways to structure that. Now, if somebody calls me after the fact where they're like, hey, we're in trouble. Okay, this guy promised all this stuff and here we are. There is still a solution. There's almost always a solution that an attorney can offer, whether that's negotiating things differently for you, even sometimes just having an attorney. I can't tell you how many times that I have sent a letter for a client and they could not get the issue resolved. I send one letter and they go, look, I don't want a lawsuit. I don't want to deal with it. Because honestly, it's cheaper for my client to pay me than whatever they're going to find for their attorney. And so, my clients are like, great. And the thing with our clients is we never screw over anybody else. We will work with the person. If we've messed up, my clients will work with them. It's one of my like kind of mantras with all of our clients is that we will always deal ethically and fairly. And so, we'll work with you. If we messed up, we'll own it. We'll fix it. But it's really interesting seeing, how these sales guys get on the doorstep and they will promise anything to make the sale because they don't care. It's not their business. Why do they care? Even though technically they could hold some liability, but they do operate like, well, it's not my problem, it's your problem. And then 6 months later, you get this, letter in the mail saying, pay my client like $500,000 or you've ruined their roof. Like all kinds of crazy things happen where we're like, we didn't agree to that. We didn't even have any part in that. So yeah, you got to get an attorney on board to help you with those things. And they can call at any stage with any questions that they have in that.
You could take it even one step further, not to take it there, but what do you do in a situation where it's an inner dispute, right? Like you are taking care of both or your clients and they're on the same team. And now you're like, are you just become a mediator? You have to get an outside counsel to help out. What happened in that situation?
Yeah. So I always compare solar to like everything in solar is like kissing cousins, right? So it's like this day, and Jake won't care. I talk about Jake all the time. So Jake, will get in an argument with somebody. They'll get pissed off. They'll say, that's it. I'm never working with you. That's it. I'm never working with you. And then Jake will talk to me and he's like, we're never working with this guy. I'm like, great. 3 months later, like, hey, I got this agreement with this guy. I need you to revise it. And we're going to do it. And then the other guy's like, hey, I love Jake. He's great. Can I get you too? You're like, guys, I still gotta figure out how to do this here. There are some exceptions to what you can do. It is state specific. Sometimes you can have conflict waivers, to where both sides can waive the conflict to allow you to work for them. Other times, honestly, I'll just say, hey, look, I can't represent you. Here's the resources that you can use to, find somebody to help mediate this issue. Sometimes I'll just even advise my client and say, hey, I'm going to stay out of it. I don't want to tweak it for you. Why don't you just go and you reach out and here's my recommendations and advice for you guys to resolve it. I have probably turned down more clients than I have taken in solar solely because I'm not going to take a client if we can't offer any help. And sometimes people can do it all on their own, save the money, save the time and do it faster. So I'll advise a client sometimes if they don't need me for that specific instance or a potential client say, why don't you just go do it yourself? And here's what I would do. So that's typically how I resolve, inner office disputes, kind of depending on what it is.
There's a lot of talking about 2024 and onward. There's the solar industry is always changing. This has always been the case. For some people that just came in, they think the world is ending, but for 10 years, this shit's going up and down for me. So there's no real difference. However, it does move in certain directions. Do you see a pattern of where things are going? We see a lot of like AGs going after companies and finance providers. And what's the direction we're heading in right now? Is there a general theme? Is it pro-solar? Is it anti-solar? Is it anti-salesperson? We have the new TCPA regulations coming into play in 2025. Lots of stuff. So what direction do you see it going in?
Yeah, so I've thought a lot about this. I think that honestly, we're at a crossroads. and I know, like, knowing historically how solar has operated over even like the last 5 years, we've always kind of felt like it's always at a crossroads. But I definitely think, seeing some of the big players that have recently left the game, I think we're starting to see more and more of us reaching that crossroads point where solar has to make a choice. We either start acting honestly, ethically, and improperly, setting up our businesses properly, treating our staff, employees, contractors, whatever it might be, treating them right, and get off of this circle of life mentality where, well, I can't pay you if that guy doesn't pay me, and then it trickles all the way down. Because what will happen is almost all solar companies will be deemed a Ponzi scheme somehow. Attorney generals are always looking, well, most of them are involved heavily in politics. They're looking for the next political move. And so they're always looking at, well, what can I do to make a name for myself? Like what out there is really hot? It's a hot topic issue that I can say, yep, this is how I show the nation or my community or my voters that I am tough on crime or hard on people taking advantage of the common citizen. And so solar is such a low hanging fruit right now, because the bad actors in this community are so abundantly bad. And this is coming from somebody that used to do white collar crime prosecution, right? I can tell you, I've helped lock up some bad people, and the people in solar are running businesses. Some people in solar are running businesses very similarly to some of the patterns and techniques that I used to see in the government. So what that translates to is all it takes is the right person. You screw over, little old Edna, and it just so happens that her niece is either an attorney or is the attorney general. And I'm telling you, like, they will destroy the industry. You want to talk about regulations? You will not only be over-regulated, the only people allowed to survive in this industry will be those with massive, massive bankrolls, who actually, in my opinion, sometimes are the most unethical. So we'll get those people. They'll just lobby better, they'll just bribe better, or whatever else, right? And then they will be the only people who can really survive in the industry, because it will be so overregulated that it doesn't make financial sense anymore to be in that space. So where I say we're at a crossroads, the industry has to decide how it wants to operate. There needs to be way more uniformity in contracts, in formation, in payment. When a company like hires people to work or says you're going to receive X commission, that cannot be premised on somebody paying them first. If you engage people to do business, you need to honor those contracts and pay your team. Now, I know that's not always possible, and that's just business in general. But if it's not possible, then you need to enforce your rights. That company needs to sue the other company to enforce their rights and show their guys, hey, look, we have an attorney and we're doing everything that we can to get it. Because then in that point, whoever your team is going to say, well, he's doing everything he can. He really is fighting for us. And you'll get a judgment and you'll enforce it, or they'll file for bankruptcy or whatever else. But if solar is not following all of like the business and professional responsibility that companies have, I think it is inevitable that we will see regulation to the point where no one can practice in this industry and be successful. And so I think that legal has never been needed more in solar in the entire history of solar, because there's so many people involved, because there is so many shady people involved in fraudulent actions, that it's got to go one way or the other. And I don't care if people don't retain my office. That's totally fine. But I always recommend people have to speak to an attorney. They have to talk to somebody to find ways to, protect their interests and protect their customers. That's really just as important. So that's the legal trend.
Do you think there's a pattern of, bad players in direct sales have always been around, but do you think maybe because the art of direct sales is dying, so many people are more lazy, the era of automation and virtual and online purchases is exploding, and so direct sales, which I love the art, I hope it never dies. There's less and less people involved in solar style sales, and therefore it's bleeding into pretty much politics at the end of the day, where less people know other people that are in industries like this, and so they don't care about it as much. So they just see it as negative. There's bad actors, let's just kill the whole thing. I wonder if that's a determining factor, and is that even a good thing, or is it a bad thing? Should we just be taking orders from AI in 10 years anyway? Should we just completely remove the human human interaction from it, and all these industries just go to complete online retail stores, right?
Joe's already working for his like robotic Terminator-esque body double.
I'm ready there, bro.
So right. So they've done studies with robots that like utilize the most advanced AI possible to like determine how they would do if they were to litigate. Right. So these robots or this AI has even like taken state bars that passed like with phenomenal pass rates and things like that. You can train them to be incredibly smart. You can train them to do the works. They can even read something like 5 million micro expressions when using like, 8 different cameras and whatever else to do it. But at the end of the day, my personal belief is this. There are just some things, at least right now with the way the technology is, there's just some things that like as a human we need. So for example, we all talk about gut intuition. And sometimes people are like, oh, that's not a thing. But scientifically, that absolutely is a thing. That gut intuition is something that you can't necessarily train a robot. Like it might see that a person is showing micro expressions of deception or micro expressions of fear and things like that. But especially, well-seasoned direct salespeople, sometimes you just get a gut feeling of, hey, this is what I think is necessary in this situation. I can tell you as a lawyer, so we're called counselors, advocates, right? These terms are used to literally show our position in relationship to our clients. And I can tell you that there is sometimes just a feeling that you get with people, as you guys know as well in your profession. You just get a gut feeling of, I know that this is what's right. It doesn't make sense on paper. It's probably not what I would objectively, logically advise, but I can tell you it just is what I feel in my gut to be accurate and correct. And I think that it will take a long time for any form of technology to reach the same level of human intuition that I think a lot of direct sales people have, lawyers definitely have, that we train, especially trial lawyers, we train that. That intuition I think is really necessary. So is it going away? Maybe, but I don't think anytime soon. And I think the opportunity for growth in solar is massive, because both sides of the aisle understand that we need better renewable energy. Consumers are starting to understand the value, especially as they do see their sales bill or their electricity bills go up. And the climate's only getting drier and there's less moisture with trees. If there really is, like all these sales guys say in their scripts, some big fire that knocked out some big electric company's power lines, and because of that you have to get our product. Well, okay, maybe there is some truth to that. There's hurricanes, there's fires, there's all kinds of natural disasters that could wipe out our grid. But just for that matter, there could be wars, there could be all kinds of things that could make the value of solar exponentially great. And so I think that there's a value for solar and there's a value for direct salespeople for years and years to come. I just don't ever see it going away, at least not in the near future. And if it does, we'll pivot. That's the best part about, sales guys. We just pivot. It's that who moved my cheese mentality. The cheese moves, we just keep on tracking it down and we keep on moving. I'm just waiting for like I am the lawyer for electricity from Mars. I don't know, right? We'll just keep branching out. So I am the lawyer now for AI electricity. I don't know.
You know who has really good lawyers are the utilities, right? They've been fighting against solar for these last couple of years. They've been really, winning on a lot of cases. I know that's not what you represent, but just maybe a hit on that. Like, how important is that the solar industry, works together to fight against the utility? I don't want to say fight against because it's not really a fight. It's more like collaborate better with.
They strategize, right? I mean, it's very basic business. The problem in solar is you have so many, young people without substantial business experience. Like in this room, I know one of the speakers that I was at this last weekend, he asked like who in the room had a high school education. Now, mind you, these are like very successful business owners, and you're asking who has a high school education, right? And that's incredible. I think, from a business standpoint, that's phenomenal. But it probably means you've missed some steps along the way. And so it'd be like, Yeah, it'd be great if like I went and played basketball with Michael Jordan, but like I'm not going to show up to play basketball against Michael Jordan and have never like taken a lesson or practiced or played other games before. Like I'm going to I'm going to get a team. I'm going to have, a coach come and train me a little bit. I'm going to like learn what kind of sports equipment I need. I'm going to, get the right attire and things like that. Like you're gonna build out the team so that you can perform at that level. And the problem is in solar that hasn't happened. All these guys have just built and created success and built and created success, and then the problem arises and they're like, oh crap. And that's why we see this trickle down effect with everyone else. One company, whatever, chooses to embezzle the money or not pay people, and why does that trickle all the way down through like 6 or 8 or 10 different companies to hundreds of individuals? That should not happen. How many times do you hear? I mean, it does happen in electric companies or other public utilities, things like that, where you might hear about like, there being some kind of wage and hour issue. But for the most part, I mean, you're not hearing like, oh, well, all of our guys climbing the power lines didn't get their paycheck last week. And the company's just saying, well, we decided to keep it. Like, you just don't hear that. But how often do we hear that in solar? And so I think collectively, as an organization and industry, we need more leaders and we need more people really kind of discussing and setting some of these things. I actually have always said we also need our own lobbyists. We need our own team of lobbyists. We need legal advisors more than even just my firm. We need legal advisors in this space who know how to come in and help craft the regulations. We need to not necessarily fight, but maybe just push back on some of these regulations that are so heavily in favor of public utilities. It's not like their bills are also great or their product is also great. It's just they spend more money with lobbyist dollars and with their attorneys than what we do collectively as solar, because everybody's too busy trying to buy their next flash car instead of saying, hey, let me contribute some money overall to a broader society to represent my interests in the industry as a whole. So that's really it. And if you look at any other big industry, right, like let's say automotive, right? Well, Tesla's got, I don't know, hundreds of attorneys, lots of different law firms. You have Microsoft, you've got, McDonald's, you've got all kinds of companies that understand the value of good legal, of organizational structure, of all these things, and they're highly successful because of it. Compare that against solar, it's like people just show up and they're like, I don't know, I'm gonna knock doors and make some money, and then they get all the money and they're like, this is great, you know what I need to do? Buy a flashy car, go to Vegas, and upgrade my girlfriend, and that's it, it's done. Like, this is my life now. And that's the difference. Is I think that solar is filled with people that need better teams, and they need better mentors, and the young guys especially need advice from people that say, hey, like, I've been sued a bunch and this is what I did. Or, hey, I had guys walk out on me and I had to start over. This is what I did. And that's it. Let me share one quick anecdotal thing. I talked earlier about a business partner, that the little company where one partner embezzled everything and like walked away, and then literally actively sued. In fact, I don't know if it's resolved, but actively sued this guy saying breach of fiduciary duties. So he called me. It was late one night. It was about like 11 o'clock my time. He was on the East Coast, and it must have been even later over there. But he called me, and he was just distraught. He was like, he couldn't believe it. I could tell that he had been the ethical one in the scenario, and he had experienced what he was believing to be death threats, or like all kinds of big issues. And he just was devastated. He was a young guy, young family. And so we stopped talking about legal for a second, and I focused on him. And I said, you have to understand what you have done in creating a successful business from nothing to success came from your own grit, your willpower, and your mental fortitude. And it doesn't matter if you go bankrupt, 100 times. Like, that doesn't leave if you don't allow it to leave, because you are that person. That value is what you offer your company. It's not the company offering it to you. And I could see it click for him where he was like, that's right. Like, okay, this guy screwed me over and I've lost all this money and I'm starting over and everything else. But you don't lose that grit, that mentality when you can remember who you really are and why you came into this industry in the first place. And I told him, I said, look, this sucks and it's going to suck for a little bit longer, but then the suck's going to stop and you're going to get back out there and you're going to rebuild, and you'll build it better, smarter, stronger. You've paid for your legal education. Now next time, pay for a lawyer. And 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 they'll do it. And I think that's what the industry is missing, is that we need a little bit of that, like, hey, let's restart. We'll hit restart, and everybody's going to refocus on doing things ethically, building companies soundly, and remembering why we got into this industry, and who we are, more so than these huge fat checks that just seem to like keep coming in. You can't turn off the faucet. We focus on why we're here and who we are. That will shift the dynamic of the entire industry.
Well, I can tell you that the solar industry is lucky to have you, Jon Dodart, Lawyers for Solar. He's going to be at SolarCon, not only at SolarCon, he's going to be on the main stage, going to be with the presentation. What can we expect from Jon Dodart at SolarCon this year?
Oh, it's going to be great. So I already started my presentation in the planning and prep. Do you want a sneak peek? You want the title?
Well, I'm not going to say no, but I wasn't asking.
I got it. I got it for you. I'll give you the title of my speech for SolarCon, and I think everybody's got to attend because it's going to apply to literally everyone in the industry. So the title of my presentation at SolarCon is "You've Been Served: Solar Legal's Winning Strategies for Any Legal Issue." And I'm going to give you stories, war stories, but more importantly, tips and tricks that like any company, any business, any individual can use. It's going to make people money just by coming. So if anyone was on the fence about getting your SolarCon ticket, which like I don't know anybody who's ever on the fence with coming to this, but if you were on the fence, I'm telling you, my speech alone, I'm going to put money in your pocket just by coming to my speech. So, and that's like ignoring all of the other people that are there, the networking. I mean, it's just, I can't be the only one that's this excited to go. So, plus I'm going to have a booth there. Come to Solar Legal's booth. Yeah. We're going to have a DJ hang out. I'm hiring, I guess, men and women to come and promote. So come say hello to them, I guess. My lawyers, I think, will be there. It's just going to be so much fun. And it's really educational. I am like there to usually answer questions too after. And more importantly, there'll be people there who can come up, talk to me about their situation, and maybe we can take them on as a client and get them started. So please come to SolarCon. It's going to be great. Or also people can always message me on Instagram, Lawyers for Solar. And we're always happy to
you don't charge
chat
for
with you and see what you got going on.
You don't charge for the conversations at SolarCon either, right?
Well, I mean, there's the derivative pay for Joe, but like nobody else has to pay. So we do free consultations. Yeah, well, I mean, look, Josh's skincare product, it ain't cheap. You've seen this face. This man is 84 years old, okay? He looks like he's 12.
I told you not to tell him, man.
And for $9.95, I will tell you all the secrets. That's at $9.95 a month. There's some fine print here, but we can send it to you. It's we'll put some sand in a bottle from Mexico, Josh. I don't know. We'll make it up.
Perfect. Exactly.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Jon. I'll see you at SolarCon. I love lawyers because they can sell the bee's knees off anything, and Jon just sold the hell out of SolarCon. So you should sell solar, mate. I don't know.
You know what? Actually, I've always said, in the worst case scenario, I'd just go sell solar. In fact, one of my best friends is a doctor, and we were talking, and he was putting out some fires of his own. And he goes, honestly, like, let's just start a solar company. It just makes sense. All of it just makes sense. And I go, well, I can tell you, I got a lawyer for you. But yeah, please come check us out. And always message me. I get some of the coolest people message me on Instagram. They just say, hey, I don't really have any legal issues, but I just wanted to call and, or message you and say thank you for what's going on in solar. And I really, sincerely, I am honored to be in this industry. It is my honor as like an attorney and as a human being to be in this industry and involved with all of you. So thank you guys for the honor of being in this industry. I don't take it lightly or for granted. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you so much, Jon. That's Lawyers for Solar.
Thanks, guys.
On Instagram,
you're very welcome.
Right? So make sure you check them out.
Absolutely.
It's awesome Instagram, great graphics, great videos, killing it on there. And his website. Check out the website too, lawyersforsolar.com. All Perfect. Legit right there. That's pretty sick stuff, bro. Appreciate you, Jon, for being on here. I got to do it again.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the invite. See you guys at SolarCon.
Yeah. Have a good one.